This is the test for auditory comprehension of language, the TACL. It should be noted that in 2014 there was a new release of the TACL, the 4th edition. However, in our clinic we only have TACL-3 available. This is a brief overview of the test. The purpose of the TACL is to measure a child's receptive language abilities on both comprehension of grammar and lexical forms using an auditory modality. It should be noted that the test covers a representative sample of the literal meanings of language, but does not measure for every possible grammatical form in every linguistic context. The test was based on the theory that comprehension reflects a person's knowledge of the association between linguistic forms such as word, morpheme, syntactic structure, and meaning. The test has a variety of uses. These can be in a battery to identify subjects with receptive language problems. You can use the TACL for intervention planning because it nicely breaks down a child's strengths and weaknesses. It can be used in the prediction of a child's success in early school years. It can be used to measure linguistic improvements through re-administration. It can be used in association with research and for the evaluation of the success of language programs. And it can be used in counseling parents about their child's receptive language abilities. The test is not intended to describe a child's linguistic development. The test is set up to be used with clients with a mental age of approximately 3 years old to 9 years and 11 months. The eligibility criteria include the fact that the child should be able to formulate responses via pointing at a picture. The child should be familiar with printed pictures and with grammatical forms, and the child must be able to pass the example items. A child who can't pass these should not have the test administered to them. The test is not limited by factors such as cognitive delay, aphasia, hearing impairment, reading deficits, articulation disorders, or bilingualism. On the TACL-3, there are a total of 139 test items, divided into 3 subtests. These tests are vocabulary, which includes 45 items measuring the comprehension of literal and common meanings of words. This covers grammatical classes such as nouns, verbs, and adjectives. An example of one page of this subtest can be seen to the side here. You can see, show me shoe, and a child would point to the 3rd item. Subtest 2 covers grammatical morphemes. These can include prepositions, noun numbers and cases, verb number and tense, noun-verb agreement, derivational suffixes, and pronouns, and all within a simple sentence. For example, the clinician might say, show me the cat is in the box, and a child would point to picture A. Subtest 3 covers the elaborated phrases and sentences, and this can include syntactic relations, elaborated phrases, sentence constructions, embedded sentences, and conjoined sentences. So a clinician may say, show me the boy and the man ate popcorn, and you would point to picture A again. Overall, the TACL-3 is a relatively short test. It takes 20 to 30 minutes to administer all 3 subtests, and this is because it encourages participants to use less than 10 seconds between stimulus presentation and response. The test can conveniently be done in any variety of settings as long as the room is quiet, comfortable, and not distracting to the client. So it can be used in a clinic, in a classroom, in a home. You will need some sort of seating arrangement in which the clinician and the client can sit close enough for the examiner to see the client's response, but far enough that the client cannot see the clinician's notes. Most test materials are provided with the test kit. You'll receive a test picture book which has all of the stimuli, an examiner's manual, and a profile record booklet. Not included with the exam will be a pencil to record your answers.
Okay, the next section is going to be about some of the properties of the test. The normative sample data was collected in the spring of 1998 and included a little over 1,000 people ranging in age from 3 years to 9 years 11 months. And the data was collected from 24 different states. The data collected is representative of the U.S. population as collected in the 1997 census. So you can see the breakdown of ethnic and racial backgrounds there. 90% of the normative sample had no disability, 3% had a learning disability, and 6% had a speech or language disorder. The sample was 54% male and 46% female. Overall, the test is very reliable. The reliability coefficients were calculated according to 3 different sources of error: content sampling, time sampling, and interscore reliability. All 3 of those composite coefficients exceed a highly rigorous standard of 0.95, so it is a highly reliable test. The test is also a valid test. Criterion validity and construct validity were calculated. Criterion validity measures the effectiveness of a test at predicting an individual's performance on specific tasks. So here, the validity is calculated for receptive vocabulary, expressive vocabulary, and general vocabulary. And then construct validity is the extent to which the components of the test measure a theoretical construct or trait. So here, the test is measuring vocabulary, grammatical morphemes, elaborated phrases and sentences. You can see high validity numbers for all of these categories here, a highly valid test. There are no sensitivity and specificity data reported for the TACL in the manual. However, the manual did state that past research indicated that the 1971 and 1973 versions of the TACL did distinguish between children who have disorders of language comprehension and those who do not. No such research was reported in the manual for the current version of the TACL. Dolligan's diagnostic evaluation checklist presented here on this slide. Not very many of the checklist criteria applied to the TACL. The participants were not identified prospectively, but they were clearly described and did include individuals with and without speech and language disorders. The measure, the TACL, was not compared to a gold standard of auditory comprehension of language. The general consensus is that there really isn't a gold standard for auditory comprehension at this time, so more research is really necessary to determine what a gold standard would be. So none of those sub-questions apply there. And then this measure, the TACL, is feasible in clinical practice, which we already mentioned. It's very easy to administer and gives you some good information. And then checklist number 5 does not apply since there was no gold standard for auditory comprehension.
The next section will talk about test administration. So testing should always begin with subtest 1, question number 1, and progress through the questions sequentially until the ceiling is reached in each subtest or all questions have been answered. So at the beginning of each subtest, the examiner will tell the child, "Show me," followed by the stimulus item. So for example, in this test page, the prompt is, "Show me the boy," so the child would choose the middle picture. Once the child has shown that they understand the concept of "show me," you can fade that prompt and just say, "Where is the boy?" or "the boy." The child should respond within 10 seconds, and if not, you will score it as incorrect. The prompt should not be repeated unless the child is under 5 years of age, and if the child is under 5 years of age, the stimulus may be repeated once if there is no response within 10 seconds. It is appropriate to give feedback, such as, "You did that quickly," or "You seem to like that," but incorrect feedback might include "That's right," or "Very good." So again, those are the test items there, as discussed, and each page has 3 pictures on it. Scoring of this test is incorrect or correct. So if the child scores or says the correct answer, they get a score of 1. If not, an incorrect answer would have a score of 0. If the child would point to more than one picture, the examiner can ask for only one answer and score that response. But if the child continues to point to more than one picture, the response would be considered incorrect. The ceiling is reached once 3 incorrect items in a row are given. And this is just an example of what the scoring page looks like for the examiner. Once the test is completed or the ceiling has been reached, the examiner would add up the scores for each section, and the TACL yields 5 types of scores. In each subtest, you get a raw score, an age equivalent, percentiles, and standard scores, and for the test overall there is a composite score. And Table A and Appendix A of the exam manual provides a conversion chart for the percentile ranks and standard scores by age. Okay, so in our application with NEVA of this test, we administered the subtest 3, the elaborated phrases and sentences. She is 8 years, or was 8 years, 5 months, 9 days old at that time. She got a raw score of 40. She reached the ceiling at test item number 47 out of a possible 48 questions. She was in the 63rd percentile with a standard score of 11, and that placed her in the average rating. Her age equivalent was 9 years, 0 months, and the quotient could not be calculated on just a single subtest. So here is a sample of NEVA's performance of the TACL.
Show me the boy who was laughing saw the girl. Show me it's not round. Show me the lady is eating a banana and the man is drinking milk. The lady who was standing on the corner by the hamburger stand called to the taxi driver who was driving by. Show me the little bird is eating. Show me, instead of walking, he rode. Show me, she wouldn't hold the clown's hand. That one? Okay. Very good.
So as you can see, the test is very simple to give and to score while administering. And each subtest of the test looks exactly the same. So any of this information can be found in the test manual, the Test of Auditory Comprehension of Language, 3rd edition.